Our eyes out towards the Brundle-Nelson section, that chicane, to see if anyone is going to miss the braking point. But it does look like most of them are making their way through safely. And it is Hill in the number 1 car, number 11, and it is the 28 Coleman in 3rd at the moment. So those guys are now making their way through the bomb hole and now into Coram as they head towards us.
They do indeed. A really good start then from Hill. We'll see just how many places he gained. I think it was 2 or 3 off the initial get-go of the line. Into Murray's for the first time, and again with such a strong headwind going down this pitch straight, that exit is even more crucial, especially for the driver in second place of Verco. Tucked up really nicely, and it's nice that we've got the red car versus the blue car going towards turn number 1. The gap definitely is closing. Maybe a look to the inside, but in the end opting to brake ever so slightly earlier. A move into Ritchie's is doable, but not from that far back. It's all about setting up that run going in towards turn number 2, potentially at Wilson. I think he's dropped off the back ever so slightly as they accelerate their way towards the braking zone, and especially when you're in slightly slower cars like these, the braking zones are actually a little bit later, because obviously you're travelling at less speeds, but you've still got pretty decent brakes, so you can actually sort of send the car quite deep in, and that's really going to allow Hill to sort of maximise his chances of defending that position.
Yeah, you say that Hill did brake quite a bit earlier than any of the other drivers then, and it's clear that he was trying to position his car middle of the track, be very, very defensive, and as they go into Agostini now, I'm expecting him to do exactly the same, because it's another hairpin that gives a little bit of an opportunity, but yes he does, but Verco is not letting him get away. That number 11 is right on the rear bumper of that car as they head down towards Oggies now. This is where last lap around Verco looked really, really close. It almost looks like he's going to have a go round the outside at Oggies, which would be a very, very strange position very strange part of the track to have a go, but he looks really confident through the twisty section of the circuit, and that's probably where, with a little bit more knowledge, Hill is braking that little bit earlier at some places to get the pull out of the corner, because it certainly looks like the number 11 of Verco is so much quicker in the twisty bits of the track, but it's the straight bits where number 1, the Hill, our leader, is able to capitalise, and as they head into the Brundle-Nelson section, that close, but it's still the number 1 out in front.
Not quite lucky, so cannot get complacent by any means. Going through the bottom hole then for another time, and darting their way around the corner, especially difficult in front-wheel drive cars, managing that understeer all the way around and trying to keep the car over to the right-hand side to open up Murray's as much as you possibly can. There's a fight for what is going to be 4th place as well coming across the line. That's between Webb and Walsh, who's really not had the best of starts from the front row. They blitz their way down at the pit straight once more, and still very, very close to the rear end is the number 11 to the number 1. Then comes the 28 of Colborne, then the 92 of Walsh, the 57 of Webb just in behind. So those two have swapped positions in the fight for 4th. Again, it's not ignited into a battle, but the potential is there for sort of 3, 4, maybe even 5 cars to be in one locked train for the lead. It all depends as to if or when Hill has to defend. Yeah, the 92 of Walsh is one to really keep an eye on, because he's actually lapping over half a second quicker than the rest of the field that time around. So the 92 started on pole, didn't have a great getaway, and has obviously dropped a number of places at the start, but is starting to mount a bit of a fight back. So the gap between himself and the 28 of Coleman in front of him is really one to be keeping an eye on as they head down into Agostini at the moment. That hairpin, we'll be able to see how they're doing there. The gap for the lead again is incredibly close. Verco in this section of the track is able to get so close, and it looks like as they head into Oggies almost every lap that Verco's going to have a go, and it looks exactly the same at the moment, doesn't it? He's going to head, is he going to go around the outside, inside? That is the point in the track where they are absolutely at their closest. And also looking at that 92 of Walsh in 4th at the moment, is certainly closing on the 28 of Coleman. That battle is really hotting up as well, but as the cars head out onto the Benton Straight, two leaders are almost side by side. It looked like Verco was almost trying to pull alongside the number 1 as they head down into towards the bridge and the Brundle-Nelson section of the track. It'll be a very brave move if you can put something up the inside there, but they were side by side as they went onto the Benton Straight, but it does look like it's still the main car in the number 1, but it's in front of the blue number 11 of Verco. It's that is definitely incredibly close, and that battle for 3rd place is really hotting up between Coleman in the 28 and Walsh in the 92, who's trying to make up for not a great start. So, really not the best of starts at all, but I think it was just down to how good the starts of those around him, where just one small mistake can really set you off. Very, very close off the exit of Murray's, though, is the number 11 of Verco, all over the rear end of Simon Hill in that number 1 machine. They hurdle their way down the pit straight once more and tucked up under the rear of the number 1 machine. Pulls out to the left-hand side going in towards Richie's corner. Defensive goes the red machine to try and hang on to this race lead. He has the 11 got the agility to go the long way around of Richie's. It's always going to be a bold move to make. It gives it a go, but I think just washes out in the end, and the number 1 can claim the corner. Towards turn number 2 here at Wilson, who's going to have the inside line, who's going to find their way into the race lead. Defensive points for goes Hill, and now allowing the rest of the pack to go their way back in to the lead of this fight.
Yeah, there was a great bit of driving by Hill there. You actually saw him brake far later that time, really making Verco work around the outside, and it was a move that almost as you saw it happen, you thought, oh, that's not going to work. We've got a little bit of movement further back with a couple of cars dicing, and I'm just trying to have a look at which numbers they are. It does look like it's the grey. Is that the 64 car of Beale that looks like having a bit of a dice there? But our leaders, yet again, as they head out of Agostini and down towards Oggies, yet again Verco is right on the tailpipes of the red number 1 of Hill. And is Verco going to have a go? It does look like every lap at Oggies he's going to have a go. And he almost tried it up the inside there, didn't he? And it's actually bringing the 3rd and 4th place cars even closer, isn't it? Because Colburn and Walsh in the 28 and the 92 respectively are getting closer as those cars head down onto the Bentley Straight. Those leading pair do look incredibly close together, and if you're on that section of the track watching, I'm sure it's something to keep an eye on. But at the moment, it's the red car of Hill that still leads into Brundle and Nelson at the moment. They are incredibly close, like Verco side by side as men trying to look on the cameras. Third place car really built up now. Coleman making the most of those big 2 battling and has drawn himself right into contention, and also has the 92 of Walsh car, all 4 of them now incredibly close together. But can Verco just fall around, make a move, work on the pit straight? Well, we'll find out. Simon Verco versus Simon Hill. Let's see who's going to come out on top. We've got still 10 minutes left to go in this race, so Hill has been under a world of pressure. Not quite close enough, I don't think, in towards turn number 1. It'll be a late move if he decides to go for it, but it's all about braking early. You see there are a good couple of car lengths before the normal braking opportunity to roll off the brakes a bit sooner, to apply that power a bit sooner, to potentially have a look going into turn number 2 at Wilson. The gap is open to a couple of car lengths or so, as it seems that Hill is very, very strong through that opening corner and into turn 2. But like we've been saying, through this infield section, it does seem that Verco has got the edge through Palmer into Agostini. Just going into Hamilton and Oggies, it's always going to be quite tricky unless you offset the car in front. If you sort of sell a dummy going into the inside, brake a little bit later, fill their mirror, make them make a mistake. Otherwise, there's almost no way through on the inside. It's always going to be able to be covered off. Yeah, as you're saying, it's all about learning as well. It's watching. So this is where the drivers in 2nd, 3rd and 4th have got a little bit of an advantage, because they can watch each other. They can see how the cars are behaving, and we've still got 10 minutes left. And so there is plenty of opportunity for there to be an overtaking manoeuvre. But again, they head into Oggies, but this time Verco is a little bit further. I say a little bit further. It's only about a car length, but he's certainly not lining himself up. It doesn't look like lining himself up for a move. It did look like the number 92 there of Walsh just ran a little bit wide on the exit of Oggies there, and may have dropped back a car length or 2 from the 3rd place of Colburn in the 28. But as they head down onto the Bentley Straight, all 4 of them are now still in the same order they were going into onto the straight. But again, Verco getting closer and closer. It doesn't necessarily appear that Hill has been marching in a straight line. To hold off the blue number 11 at all points. And that battle for 3rd place. As we look on the cameras, but we'll be able to get them in vision as they head into the last section and down towards the Murray chicane. I don't think anyone is close enough at this point. It's almost like they're giving each other a breather for a lap before they go again. But yeah, we've got about a car length. Those cars, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, all very close together as they come across the start finish line. Yeah, indeed. So once more, Verco still not quite close enough, but you can see Hill just positioning the car ever so slightly off the racing line, not all the way over